Welcome to FTB Weekends for the 28th of January, 2023. It is currently 1:05 p.m. Eastern as we're recording this. I'm Jason C. McLean, and welcome, as always, Dawn McSweeney. Welcome, Dawn.
Hello. How
Hello.
are you?
Yes, I'm doing great. I'm doing great. But of course, I said it's 1:05 p.m. Eastern. It's also according according to the I'm going to get the name of the group right. According to the Bulletin of the Atomic Scientists, it is 90 seconds to midnight on the Doomsday Clock. That's an organization that tracks, when the world's going to end and we're all going to start living in a post-apocalyptic future. And of course, this post-apocalyptic future, what they take into account is mainly what up the clock is that the what Russia's doing in Ukraine and the threat of nuclear war, but also the climate crisis, and also basically like misinformation online, things like that could lead to unrest. So I was thinking, seeing as the world's there's this apocalypse scenario on the horizon, how would that play out in Montreal?
Okay, well,
Now,
first of all, just some background so we have all the facts in check. Yes, this is actually the closest we've ever been to midnight on the atomic clock, which is pretty interesting considering how big the problems have been previously. And I was interested to see that it wasn't actually the climate crisis that pushed it as so much as the Ukrainian invasion. So, how would we fare?
well, let's start first with nuclear war. Now, I don't think Montreal would be a first strike target. I think Toronto would probably be a first strike
Jesus
target.
Christ. Krishna and all the chariots. Listen, I have prescriptions for this. Okay, let's do this.
Okay. I don't think Montreal, trigger warning, we're going to be talking about really nasty stuff. Okay. I don't think that Montreal will be a first strike target, but New York definitely would. And we're very close. So I think the radiation from that might get up here. Like, I don't think we might eventually be hit with nukes. I don't know. Do you think we'd get a lot of we would, do you think we'd be able to survive? Will we be mutated? What do you think would happen?
Okay. We do have a fair amount of underground space.
True.
Compared to like Ohio, shout out to my bestie in Ohio, but compared to certain other places that don't have an extensive metro system, let alone the fact that we have an underground city, so we actually have things like bathrooms there. So even if plumbing is down, we actually have facilities. Um, a lot of people look at how we handled COVID, so we can assume that the suburbs just go buck wild and just start raiding big box stores. And what I saw during the lockdown itself was that people in the city and people who are more used to living in tightly knit, very close to other people, was that there was a more communal nature to it. There wasn't, I never once ran out of toilet paper because we're used to living together. So I think that the people in the suburbs and farther with their big trucks are going to cause their own problems and haywire itself and just murder each other over fucking Cheetos. And the people in the city would go down underground.
Okay,
How
so
long do we
basic.
have to be underground? A nuclear winter is problematic in and of itself, but also, once again, we have such a short growing season. I wonder how long we could get away with just some of the shit we already have kicking about.
Also, underground, we've got stores, we've got clothing, we've got
But
like
if
video
those things
games.
can't get any more stuff, like how are we talking? Are we talking that as a result we can't grow things, or are we talking like supply chain problems and certain other places are wiped off the map and we just have to pretend they don't exist? Like, it's very.
Yeah, because we could eventually, because some of these underground cities connect to big buildings, so we have like floors. We could turn the offices into apartments. People could still live. We could still keep things going. I think for maybe a few years until the rest of the world sort of got around, and then we'd be
If we
going out.
keep power, if we manage somehow in a nuclear in tragedy to keep electricity going, we could use those buildings as grow places,
Yeah,
just
no, you see.
vertically farm.
Excellent. And I was even thinking, because I wasn't originally thinking of the underground. That's a very astute observation. I was because the other option is
I've thought about crises before, Jason. I told you this is
okay.
problematic. Go on.
Okay, if it's instead it's flooding, like climate change. That is the thing
Jesus
that.
Christ.
Well, no, but this is where you do better than me. because you live in the plateau. There was actually an interactive map on the online that would show you on Google Street View what your house would look like under flooding. I'm in the St. Henry. I'm in the Southwest. We would be like up to the first floor flooding, but you in the plateau, I think if everyone just heads to the mountain or maybe down to the underground, but the flooding stays
You
up
can't,
top.
no, the flooding is not going to stay up top. We've seen what happens at Square Victoria in a heavy rainfall. The whole
You're right.
thing is, it's 100% gone. As soon as you say flooding, the entire underground is wiped out.
The entire underground is okay. So yeah, so I think we
And
should
then
head to
what
the
does that
mountain
mean
then.
structurally to what's above ground?
True. I think we should just head to the mountain. But is the mountain, how many people could we accommodate on the mountain or the
You're
plateau?
killing me here.
Well,
We're
do the
one
people
of the we're like something like the most densely populated, one of the most densely populated places in Canada.
true, but the people in the plateau or in the higher areas can stay in their houses, and all the people from the lower areas can maybe move into the mountain.
Again, structural damage created by flooding of the underground system. And I don't know if you've seen Montreal roads, but the whole thing starts to fall apart.
Okay. Now, when was sort of fictional thing about the apocalypse, which there's actually, I saw a video game at one point designed Montreal in the zombie apocalypse. All the zombies had to steal bikes because there were no more cars. But I think that like if that ever happens, I think we might be okay with the zombies. Like I don't know.
Krishna in a carriage. Where are you going with this? How are we okay
Okay.
with zombies now?
I know I'm not okay. I'm just saying that you know what? I'm thinking this actually might be a positive thing. I think Montreal might be one of maybe not the West Island, but Montreal might be one of the cities that actually does okay in a global apocalypse. So I'm sort of taking a positive spin on this one because of our solidarity, because of our underground network, and because of our mountain. I'm
It's
thinking
the island
Montreal.
versus off island, to be honest. And but
Yeah,
then yeah, it's even more so once you get, I do think once you start to have to take a highway, those people are in a different reality for what happens during a crisis.
you're right. You're right. So maybe we should be maybe all moving into the city. Well, one thing that might I don't know if this is going to help or hinder the crisis, but moving something like a story I heard is there's going to be 3 new rivers in Quebec that are going to be dammed, and we'll go by damned. I mean they're going to put up a dam, not they're damned. Like they're I know we're talking about apocalypse and stuff. Like they're going to put a thing there to block it for hydroelectricity. And Legault doesn't want to announce the rivers because they don't want to scare people in the
By
community.
scare people, he means he doesn't want to have to listen to the pushback and see the protests because his popularity is built on him just smiling in front of a thing.
Yeah, and he's not really. I mean, hydroelectricity is not what's going to bring about a climate crisis, but it might really screw up the people in those communities.
Yeah. And it always happens to either indigenous communities or places that just seem to him not important, not to him, but to the people in power previously.
Yeah.
And I don't think it ever gives any thought to the people who are there right now.
Okay.
And
No, that's
really,
true.
do
That's true.
we have enough electricity to be selling it? Do we really need to be expanding on this? Like, what's the end goal here? Do we need more power, or is he just trying to create more so he could sell more?
Obviously, so he can sell more. I don't think that Legault thinks anything but profitability or keeping himself in power.
He
But
also considers the language.
and the language too. And when
Write your checks in
Quebec.
French. Oh no, you can write your checks in any language, but make sure that when you say, yeah, okay, go on.
Yeah, but one of the institution that unfortunately I'm realizing is in the lower part of the city and not underground is Archambault. Now the sign might survive the apocalypse, but the store is not going to even be there if there's an apocalypse because they're actually closing after like 30 years in the Berri location. We think about that. That's their exact the exact words of the CEO. It's citing a lack of future profitability because of
So,
changes in the area, because there's a lot of construction and it's bringing in a new element, he says, the construction.
and the new element doesn't play music. Like, I don't know. It used to be a pilgrimage. I've known musicians who lived full at other parts of town who would go to Archambault, well, or Steve's, but it was something that you could count on the fact that in certain areas, your local music store, whatever it was, wasn't going to be as good as that. And the sign is classic, and I don't know what they're going to do with
The
that, but
sign's going to
it's
stay. Apparently, the sign's going to stay. Quebecor actually bought the sign, not the store, but they bought the sign like
and I
5 years
wonder if
ago.
this speaks to things like online purchasing and things like that. Like, are people just, I mean, because it's crazy to think that you could say the future profitability of a music store, like in a city like Montreal. Like it's
Yeah,
crazy
because
to me.
they don't just sell like CDs. I get that. It was HMV. I understand why that went away. They sell musical instruments. They sell like
Thanks for
pianos and stuff.
clarifying. They sell
Well,
pianos and stuff. Yeah, but they sell like guitars and guitar equipment and accessories and sheet music.
yeah,
And
I wasn't clarifying for you. I was clarifying for John Q audience or Jane Q audience who might
if
not know
Jane
that.
Q audience doesn't know what Archambault is, they won't miss it, I guess. Anyway, go on.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
HMV. How old am I now? Go on. How old are
It was
you? No, stop.
Did you know that HMV stands for, actually, how old is HMV? It stands for His Majesty's Voice, not Her Majesty's Voice. So that wasn't talking about King Charles. That was talking about the previous king.
Wasn't it the one with the phonograph and the dogs?
That's RCA.
Okay, go on.
Okay. That's another building that I think closed down in St. Henry as well, too, and it became Imperial Tobacco. I'm not sure, but I know that while we're still in the before times, you were telling me that Sloan's coming to town.
Well, let's do this in order. So tomorrow I'm going to Molotov Cuisine, Chef Molotov by Fiona Genevieve. Check her out. We've got her covered. There's an article previewing it. Her Jardin d'Hiver dinner and a show tomorrow night with some wonderful culinary creations. It's a pop-up. It's her first one in Montreal. I will be reviewing it. I will be there, dinner and a show, burlesque dancers. And then Wednesday, because I made the questionable choice of going out on a school night, is Sloan, who, okay, they were my first concert, Jason, in 1994, the night before my 16th birthday. Yep. I went to see them at the Spectrum. Ah, the Spectrum. I moshed, I crowd surfed. It was a beautiful time. And then they were supposed to come back in 2019, 2020. And then I don't know if you know, but a few things got canceled around that time.
Yeah.
And then literally just found out last week, it just popped up in my stuff. They're coming to Petit Campus. I believe that's where we're seeing them at Wednesday. So if you want to get in a little retro, fabulous East Coast vibes, a little chillax and alternative tricks, go on and see that.
How come they're not going to the Spectrum? They should have returned to the same place that they were going to the first time, right? I mean, the Spectrum.
Cool.
Yeah, then they could go. They could go to the Spectrum. Then they could get.
It was a great venue.
I'm trying to think of another place. I'm trying to think of other places that's closed.
I understand.
That I can put into my joke. They go to the Spectrum. Then they could get some clothes at Eaton's. Then they can.
Zellers, come on.
Zellers, yeah, they could go. Zellers might be coming back.
But only part of a Hudson's Bay company experience. So they're going to do like an immersive within the store. And my understanding is, so I guess you'll go into Hudson's and you'll the Bay
tacky 80s experience.
Yeah, and you're just gonna have a section that's maybe cheaper clothes. Like I don't know what their vibe here is or their plan, but aesthetically, I guess it'll really appeal to the trend of 90s and 2000 vintage.
Wonder if they'll have the little restaurant there with the burgers and stuff like that. That might be good.
Let's bring back Woolworths. They had it too.
So the thing is that if Zellers can survive and come back, I think, again, to conclude, I think Montreal would survive a global apocalypse, even though we're 90 seconds to midnight on the Doomsday Clock, and we'll go screwing around with our rivers. But Archambault, sadly, won't be there. That's my wrap up of everything we talked about. And Sloan's going to come to town. All right. So follow Dawn McSweeney at McMoxie on Twitter and Instagram. Follow me at Jason C. McLean on Twitter and Instagram. On follow at Forget the Box on Twitter and Instagram, and our Instagram is going to be jumping soon. Our
soon. Let's not say a date yet, but let's tease the fact that big changes are coming, and it's going to be a hot ticket item.
It's going to be a hot ticket item, and we're getting these in just before the Doomsday, so it's perfect. And yeah, there's what else do you do? We can get our app. Or no, if you're watching this, follow at Forget the Box on Twitter, Instagram. If you're watching this on Facebook, like it. Follow Forget the Box on YouTube. Smash that like button. Ring the bell for notifications. Make sure you select all notifications because you want to know it all. And of course, you get our Android app. And of course, for daily content, and next week on FTB weekends, we got some surprises for you. But we're gonna let that simmer with you. So just think about it. For daily content, check out Forget the Box. We'll catch you next week for another FTB weekend.